get a small team together of people, like-minded people, who are passionate about your film.
You write from your heart and passion and instinct first and foremost. You're going to tap into some universal stuff.
Don't show guns.
Comedy tells the truth, and specifically it tells the truth about people.
There's a lot of talented people that never make it because they don't understand the business.
You have a message you want to share with the world. You'd like to do it through film. How can you do it? Today's guest, Jon Fitzgerald, author of Filmmaking for Change, Make a Film That Transforms the World, is going to give us some tips on how you can do it. He's a co-founder of the Slamdance Film Festival. Jon Fitzgerald served as festival director of the American Film Institute and the Santa Barbara and Abu Dhabi International Film Festivals. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Happy to be here.
All right, talk about your book a little bit and talk about how people can make their films.
Sure. Well, the origins from the book were really working on a film festival showing one of my movies several years ago in Albuquerque. I participated on a panel with Michael Wiese, and I'd read a lot of his books and thought there's an idea that I was working on with Cause Cinema that could make for an interesting book about making movies with social change in mind, social impact films. So Filmmaking for Change was really an idea around how can you take the concept of documentary and kind of dovetail that with narrative storytelling devices and more of a 3-act structure. And in my case, I used Joseph Campbell's 12 Stages of the Journey, the hero's journey, as a structure, and take the older, less modern and contemporary visionary documentaries and kind of turn them on their side. I mean, a lot of the Talking Heads documentaries from years ago. I mean, we're seeing a lot more exciting documentary now. I think some are calling it the golden age of documentary a few years ago. And I firmly believe that it's because of the storytelling devices and techniques, and more visionaries are turning to documentary than ever before. So Filmmaking for Change for me was an opportunity to kind of crystallize that idea and really help emerging writers and filmmakers figure out how to structure the storylines and give them a place to start and give them a place to think about, and then also help with some practical filmmaking questions and answers, and then how to take the film out into the festival circuit and find an audience.
And when you say visionaries, a visionary can be anybody who's watching this video right now. They must realize that you can take, if you have a story to tell, you can do it with film, and you don't have to be a filmmaker.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In fact, a lot of documentary films are being made these days by what I would call novice filmmakers. They're not filmmakers that necessarily went to film school or were, filming their family when they were 7 years old, like the Spielbergs of the world. They were just social impact driven people that had an idea or a story that they wanted to share that they thought could help make a difference. To give you a couple of examples, 2 of the last films that I've worked on, one was called The Milky Way. And this was a film that was essentially developed by 2 lactation consultants. And they knew that there was a problem with breastfeeding in America. We were essentially failing at it. You travel all over the countries around the world and find that there are communities in Scandinavia and other European countries that have a 90% success rate at breastfeeding after a certain period of time, and we're just not doing it. And people were not necessarily getting the idea that there's a lot more going on than just the nutrition of the milk, that it was the bonding. And I won't go into the whole story, but the bottom line is these are lactation consultants who decided that film was a medium that could get the message out there with the biggest shout. And so they came to me to say, let's figure out a way to craft a story and help us structure the A to Z of how to make a movie. So these 2 novice filmmakers basically came to me to help guide them down that path. And the film was acquired by a major distribution company. It was on cable release. It was on Netflix. It's on iTunes now. And it's going to play in colleges and with hospitals and really help make a difference. So that's an example. Another example is the last film I did is called Warrior One. This was a terrific film that was brought to me by a woman named Jo Wheeler, who was a well-fit coach. She was a kind of a part psychologist, part therapist, part adventure guru. And what she was able to do was take the idea of bringing a group of young girls that were from mostly underprivileged backgrounds and give them an opportunity to really train mentally and physically, and ultimately culminate in a trip to Machu Picchu where they would do a trek. And the whole idea was to encourage in leadership and empowerment principles for these kids. And Jill was a miracle worker with these girls, and she literally led them down this path for a period of months. And then we got on a plane and went to Peru and did a 3-day trek. And these girls, their lives are forever changed, and now they feel like leaders and they feel like they can do anything. And some of them have gone off from high school on to college now. And that's another example of a woman who had a story to tell, wanted to use film as a vehicle to create change, and ultimately just needed a little help to know about how to get the right cameras and how to structure the story so that there was a certain presentation value, so it felt like a real movie when you see it up on the screen.
What piece of advice would you give to somebody who wants to put a story out there, as opposed to, everybody's got a cell phone and they're pointing it at everybody nowadays? That's not, it's a story, but what advice would you say to somebody who actually wants to sit down and put some thought into what they're doing?
Well, I think the important thing is to first and foremost understand what your goals are for the project. There are a lot of digital platforms now that are showing short form content. Some are showing long form content. There are the kind of bootstrap filmmaking, like you say, with iPhones and just renting a camera. But if you really want to tell a story with a bigger vision, you want it to play film festivals, you want it to find an audience, you want it to find a home at a Netflix or an iTunes or somewhere substantial, then I do think it's important to seek out a producer or director that can help you realize your vision. There's a new project that was just brought to me recently. It's about a volleyball community of all things in the South Bay. And these are guys that have some strengths, and some are from the industry, some are not. And they just need some help kind of putting it together. And I think there are a lot of filmmakers out there like myself that are always game to help tell a creative and important story. So they could look up films that spoke to them and see who the filmmaking team was. They can literally do a Google search for, social impact documentary filmmaking, and I bet a bunch of names will come up. Obviously, I have a site, filmmakingforchange.com, and I talk about how I can help, if it's the right project, take their vision to the screen. But I think it's just important, as you say, to just demonstrate that you don't have to have years and years of experience to bring an idea to the screen. Forks Over Knives was another example that I talk about in the book, and this was a real estate agent who ultimately realized that by changing his diet, it made his world and his life a better place, and he wanted to bring that message to the world, and was trying to figure out what the right vehicle was, and ultimately decided that a movie was the right way. And then of course he had a companion piece, had a book on the bestseller list. So there's a lot of different pieces, but the other thing to keep in mind is, some of these filmmakers are not interested in creating movements. They just want to be a director for hire. And some are more interested in the social impact, nature, and the movement of it all. And the Milky Way, for example, those ladies wanted to create a movement, and they wanted to live on. It's not just an entertainment value that makes a point. It's about creating a movement. So I think those are all important considerations for the creator, if you will, when they come up with the idea to think through.
Okay, and before we go, talk about your book quickly and how people can get a hold of you.
Sure. Well, the book is available at Michael Wiese Productions. Filmmaking for Change, once again, is the title. I do have a website, filmmakingforchange.com. I have a couple other websites that are worth knowing. Cause Pictures is our production website, and Cause Cinema is a new website that we've just developed that will essentially bring these movies to colleges, to film festivals, and have a podcast that ultimately is a guide to how to find the best of social impact cinema. So John at Cinecause, or no, we got to scrap that. John at causepictures.com is the best way to get a hold of me.
All right, John, thank you for your insights today.
Absolutely, it was fun. It was fun, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.